Hey, what's up guys? One of my favorite ways of using essential compositions within outdoor photography is definitely utilizing a long lens or a telephoto lens. With me right here, I have a 70-200 f4 lens, which is basically my primary lens whenever I'm shooting landscapes. I know a lot of people say, well, the wide angle shot with the big foreground and being able to distort your locations is a go-to for a lot of outdoor photographers. However, I've found you get more creativity out of a long lens and more opportunities for photography out of a long lens. And that's because the way you're able to play with your compositions with a long lens. And the name of the game with something like a telephoto lens like this 70-200 is compression. And what the technology of a long lens does is it compresses the distance between things. So you have to know when you are photographing something with a telephoto lens, it's going to look way different than what you see with your eye or what you see with a wide angle lens. So take the image behind me, for example. We have a really nice row of trees going behind us. And it's nice because we have linear patterns of the trees, not only going across with the horizon line, but we also have tree trunks that are lining up vertically, going in a horizontal line of paired shapes, which is really fun for us to pair together among shapes in a composition. And what I want to do here is get really creative with my composition. Number one, we can take that classic shot of just the tree line and having that linear shape paired up with the same trees going down, creating repetition with the telephoto lens. And we can see that compression that happens in the image itself. But I also want to be creative with my telephoto lenses and my long lenses. And that means creating something like natural windows and shooting in between objects whenever I'm out photographing. This allows me to create that natural window. It's almost like you're looking through the same window I was looking through when I was in the field. And it's a great way to show your viewer what the subject of your composition is. So we're shooting through these tree trunks because we're pairing those vertically on each side, creating a really nice compositional window to shoot through. And then we also have the tree trunks in the background, really compressing that distance and having them show up behind the initial tree trunks. That is our natural window. And those are in the background with some really nice fall color on those leaves, creating a really nice, just red tapestry of fall foliage in the background. So whenever you are using something like a telephoto lens and pairing up lines and compressing distances, you always need to think about how can I do this more creatively? To show you a really good example of compression though, I kind of want to take a different scene from where I am and show you how you can use leading lines that take you through an image, but also create a really good compressed composition with a telephoto lens. So with the shot we just took, we just talked about distance compression and using that with layers of things like the trees that we shot through. But behind me, you'll see this pathway that's going through this like window of trees behind me. It's a really cool scene and a really fun composition we can work with, especially on like a hazy fall morning. We're close to peak color and we're really trying to compress those distances, create a cool composition. With a telephoto lens, what you can do is reduce the amount of space between the beginning of this pathway that's leading us to the subject of our image, which is that kind of hole in the trees. You have a bench back there too. But what you can also do is show your viewer with a leading line and a compressed leading line where they're going throughout the image. So I can take a photo right here with a wide angle lens, which I've done and I'm showing you right now, and it just has no feel. It has no really good composition to it. Yes, you have a leading lines. Yes, the clouds in the sky are kind of cool to look at, but it has no real feel or composition to it overall. So what you can do is ditch the wide angle lens and really focus on using a telephoto and what we know about distance compression with our compositions to create a more interesting image. And that's kind of what I've done here, is strapping on the telephoto exactly the same spot as I was standing when I was shooting with a wide angle lens. And what I've done is reduce the amount of space between the beginning of the path within my frame and the very back. So let's go through the composition here and what we've done with the telephoto lens. And that is really use this path to take you from a starting point and take you to the subject. So when you start your analysis of an image and a composition, your viewer is automatically going to be drawn to this very distinct line. And what we've done here is created a really good zigzag pattern to allow you to weave through the scene and take you back to the subject and lead you to that subject, which is this hazy window with a park bench in it where you can sit, you can feel the fall air, you can hear the leaves falling around you. Just a really nice, crisp morning that we can photograph here. That's not all you can do with a telephoto lens. I'm going to show you one more thing you can do with some finer detail shots with a telephoto lens. So one of the other things that I love to do with telephoto lenses and outdoor photography compositions, and really nailing down whatever you're going out to shoot with a telephoto lens, is having the ability to create fine detail shots and pair up shapes and lines that are going on around you. So one of the biggest challenges of being an outdoor photographer is creating order out of chaos. And you can see all around me right now, I have tons of cypress trees that are sticking up out of the water. They're going in all different lines and directions towards the sky. And then we have dancing water all around them, little stumps coming up out of the ground too. One of the things we can do with our telephoto lens compositions is look for linear patterns that are going on within the trees. So it's easy to step up to a scene and be completely overwhelmed by everything going on, especially if it's your first time there. So really being able to take a step back and be mindful about what the shapes are doing around you is one of the big benefits of knowing your compositions, especially with a telephoto lens, because when you step up to it, it's chaos, it's overwhelming. But when you take your telephoto lens out and you start pairing up compositions with the lines going on, it can make a lot more sense. Take this photograph, a vertical shot of these cypress trees, for example. You know, it's vertical for a reason. It's vertical because the linear patterns in the trees are also vertical. If you took a close range shot like this in a horizontal aspect, it wouldn't make too much sense. I mean, it could pass for like an abstract shot, but it would be kind of hard to decipher what exactly is going on. And it wouldn't be a peaceful or a composition that makes a whole lot of sense. So when you pair up your lines with also the lines of the framing going vertical with vertical lines in the trees, it makes a lot more sense. And stepping out from that, it's easy to get married to one composition and continue to watch it and photograph that. But you kind of have to walk around your scene and envision everything that's going on like you would with a telephoto lens. Like the telephoto lens is just strapped to your face and you're looking at the scene through that lens. So just walk around your scene as the light continues to change. Be mindful of the things that are going on around you, because a lot of times what you can do is use what we already know about telephoto lens and how they compress and stack distances together. And you can get real low to the ground and photograph something like this shot of what we get with a tree limb that's dead and hanging in the water, but all the things going on around it, the water, the mist and the fog that's settling down on the surface of the water. You have the cypress trees and the fall color of them in the background. A lot of times pairing things like that together make a really good shot. Not to mention when you have a blue heron sitting on that limb, it makes it all that much better and tells the entire story. But look at the framing and composition of this. We have the limb and the blue heron that's on the bottom thirds line of the frame, and we've used that compressed and stacked distance to get low to the water and reduce the amount of space between that heron and limb to the bottom of the cypress trees behind it. And then the cypress trees are on that top thirds line of the rule of thirds grid that we already know about from previous sessions. So being able to watch for things like this and then quickly adjust our tripod, or if we're hand holding a shot, we can easily just frame this up and move up and down, bend down and up as we're framing this up and creating a composition to create something really compelling. Lastly, what I want to talk about is creating those intimate scenes with a telephoto lens, because that can be really important too. For example, as the sun continued to rise here where we are around the cypress trees, I continued to walk this path and find intimate details, because with a telephoto lens, we can really zoom in on our subjects and find interesting patterns that are going on. And what happened here is the light continued to increase and get brighter, which completely eliminated any composition chances that we had with like a wide angle lens or with a telephoto lens from long distance, because we had dappled light going on in the trees all around us. So one of the things we can do is say, okay, well, I'm gonna stop focusing on the wider shots, even with a telephoto lens at long range, and I'm gonna go really small and intimate scene here. So what we have behind me in this scene is a lot of little cypress stumps that are growing out of the water. Some are alive, some are dead, but it's interesting to find the reflections off of the surface of the water. So what I like to do with my compositions with telephoto lenses is get those wide, big, overwhelming shots out of the way first as the light continues to change, and you know the scene better as the time continues to progress while you're there and you're exploring. Whittle your compositions down to go wide, smaller, 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 smaller. And now what we have here is a very intimate detail of what's behind us with these tree stumps. And what I'm doing here is shooting a very close shot with my telephoto lens. And I'm framing this up using the rule of thirds, putting the longest edge of that cypress stump on the left side of the frame and kind of having it work its way down to the right. But then as it goes down all around it, using a 1 second exposure at f14 ISO 100, I'm able to elongate that exposure and smooth out the water that's right behind me. So I'm using the reflection to frame up this tree stump in this intimate detail using a telephoto lens as a good composition of seeing that stump as it is, as an intimate detail, but having it framed up correctly and being able to see it completely because we have blurred out reflection going on all around it. As you continue to work with your compositions with telephoto lenses and practice these, you'll start to see the wide shot first, and you'll be able to create order out of chaos using tight-knit shots from long range of the big scene, stacking and compressing those distances. But you'll also be able to continue to work with whittling down your compositions to some that make sense, that create an atmosphere and an idea and a story of the overall scene of your outdoor photography whittling it down as much as creating those intimate, fine detail shots of landscape.